There are three areas I'm focused on: what private companies will require, what federal employees need to do, and how COVID testing will become more readily available. Let's start with private companies. Those with more than 100 workers must require their workers to get vaccinated or test for the virus weekly. The president says this will affect more than 80 million workers. He says some companies like Tyson Foods, United Airlines, and Disney have already mandated this for their employees. Companies will also be required to give paid time off to allow for employees to get vaccinated.
No one should lose pay in order to get vaccinated or take a loved one to get vaccinated. Today, in total, the vaccine requirements in my plan will affect about 100 million Americans.
Now to federal workers who will also be required to get the vaccine. The president says that will apply to all executive branch employees and federal contractors. That includes people who work for agencies like the FAA or TSA. So now let's talk about how testing fits into all of this. The Biden administration is pledging that tests will be cheaper and easier to find by ramping up at-home rapid test production through the Defense Production Act. Walmart, Amazon, and Kroger will start selling those at-home kits at cost for the next 3 months. Right now, you can buy them for as cheap as $15, and we expect the price to come down once the order takes effect. Many businesses have free on-site testing, and government is increasing spending to buy tests for places like schools.
We're committing $2 billion to purchase nearly 300 million rapid tests for distribution to community health centers, food banks, schools, so that every American, no matter their income, can access free and convenient tests.
Those at-home kits will be available next week. The president did not give a timetable for vaccination requirements for federal workers or private companies.
Grace, thank you. Among the president's other plans, expanding disaster loan funding for businesses impacted by the pandemic, requiring vaccines for educators in the Head Start program. There are about 300,000 of them nationwide. Doubling financial penalties for people who refuse to mask up on airplanes, and increasing the shipment of monoclonal antibody treatments by at least 50%. You can find a larger, more detailed description on our website.
Is the president's new vaccine plan legal? WFMY News 2's Jenna Curzina turned to a Greensboro attorney to get some insight.
Julie, we know this new mandate will impact more than 80 million workers. President Biden says the new rule will basically be an emergency order from the Department of Labor and OSHA. One expert says violations could total $14,000. Attorney Nicole Patino says OSHA has issued rules like this before, but can the president require them to do it?
He's going to use the Department of Labor and OSHA to enforce those, so they will probably create some rules soon, just like they have with the emergency temporary standards, both for public sector employees and healthcare workers, to enforce whatever mandate he decides upon.
So what about a timetable? The White House didn't say when the rules would take effect, but Patino says they'd have to give workers time to get the shot.
They're going to have to give time for compliance, especially with the vaccines. They're requiring a certain amount of time to for you to have, if you have the 2-shot vaccine, to become vaccinated or fully vaccinated according to whichever vaccine you get. So there will have to be some time period before it goes into place and can be enforceable against the employers.
The president mentioned several large companies that already require the vaccine, including Tyson Foods, which has a plant in Wilkesboro. Last month, the company announced employees must be vaccinated by November 1st. After the president mentioned Tyson today, the company issued a statement saying these efforts are working. Today, more than 75% of our U.S. team members have received at least one dose of a COVID-19 vaccine. Over 30,000 team members have been vaccinated since the company announced its requirement in early August.